The Meeting Planner's ROI Calculator is a tool that speakers and bureaus can use to help meeting planners better understand why it's important to increase their speaker budget. In fact, this tool can help the meeting planners show how their meeting can become a profit center rather than an expense center. Like other sales tools that I build, this one qualifies and quantifies the value that speakers bring to conferences. Qualifying means we make sure we're addressing all of the areas where our business impacts their business, and quantify, of course, means that we tie some real numbers to that. So when the calculator opens, it looks like this. And what the meeting planner sees is a lot of blank space, but that's by design. You will notice a simple instruction: double-click in the boxes to enter data. Do not use commas. And so you ask the meeting planner, how long is your conference going to be? And let's say this is a 4-day conference, and then you ask them how many people are coming. And let's assume, for the sake of the demo, they have 200 people coming to their conference. This information simply gives the calculator some baseline data that it needs to make its future computations. One of the things meeting planners may not be considering is how much labor cost is embedded in a conference. So they have two options here. They can enter salary or they can enter hourly wages. And since most conferences involve executives and non-exempt employees, then what we're looking at here is probably, let's say it's a sales conference and the average salesperson is making $55,000 a year. You'll notice we did not use commas. Once we exit this box by either clicking on another box or by using the tab key, some other information is going to appear. More boxes for input and a pie chart. But before we move to those, let's look at meals and do one final computation up here. If the hotel or venue is charging a flat fee for meals, that number would be inputted here. But for the sake of this demo, we'll say that these salespeople are on their own for meals, and they have a $52 a day per diem. Now you'll notice the pie chart has reacted. They'll be paying $41,600 for meals. Then we ask about room charges. These are room nights or hotel rooms, sleeping rooms. How many room nights will you have? A 4-day conference will typically have 3 room nights. How many rooms will you be using? Well, 200 people. Some people like to share a room, so we'll say that it's 160 rooms. And let's say the meeting planner has negotiated a $99 room rate. They could add other costs in here if they like, or if they have a grand total, they could just put that in here and avoid putting the other inputs in. But you will notice the tool now has calculated their room cost at $47,520. If we go to the pie chart, we see that rooms right here are $47,500. To remove this sub-calculator, simply click off and the calculator goes away. What about AV cost? Well, renting projectors and screens and all the accoutrements that go with that. For 4 days, let's say the local company is charging $200 a day, so we put in $800 there. Staging, pipe, curtains, booths, whatever they are using, let's say they've invested $3,500 in that. And then let's say that the venue is charging for the refreshments at the break, and it's a 4-day conference and it's $200 a day. We'll put another $800 in there. Then you'll notice this category Other is typically a catch-all category, but again, we're going to help the meeting planner remember what those other expenses might include. What about an off-site activity? Oh, yes, we're going ziplining, so they're charging $15,000 to take 200 people ziplining. And what about gifts? Oh, yes, we're going to be spending $40 per person for some gifts. That'll be $8,000. And what about printed materials? Well, our print bill's going to run about $2,500. And again, you'll notice the tool is doing all the algorithms, all the arithmetic in the background. Again, to close the calculator, we simply click the off button. Finally, let's say that we suggest to the meeting planner they have a $50,000 speaker budget, and then one final cost would be, of course, transportation. 200 people with, let's say, $200 per person, which would include airfare and ground transportation, would be $40,000. Now we have a pie chart that shows all of the cost associated with their meeting, but their meeting budget does not include labor, because they're going to pay their employees anyway. But here we see the total investment this organization is making in a meeting. Labor investment, $169,000. And meals, $41,000, rooms, $47,000. And right now their speaker budget is only 13% of their total budget. And yet it is the speaker that is most likely to make the changes in the behavior that they want. Well, what are those changes worth to them? In order to compute an ROI, we need two numbers. One is their annual revenue, and one is their profit margin. They can use gross profit or net profit. It really doesn't matter. So let's say, for the sake of conversation, that this is a $200 million company. And again, we're not using commas. And if we've done it right, the commas will show up. And let's say their gross profit, it preloads at 25%. Let's say their gross profit is actually 30%. This preloads the percentage increase in revenue based on what the speaker brings to the table at 4%. Normally, when you have a sales training episode, sales go up generally by more than 4%, but at least 4% for a period of time. So the ROI, based on these numbers right here, is $2,237,000 in profit. This takes the total profitability and subtracts out the meeting budget. But let's say that the ROI comes up negative. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to make this a smaller company, a $20 million company. And let's see what that does to the ROI. Let's say that they don't have a 4% increase in production. They only have a 2% increase. This shows a negative ROI based on profit of $42,000. Is that a bad thing? Absolutely not. What you want to be able to explain to the meeting planner is this. Your meeting will cost you $42,200 because this number has subtracted out your total budget. So instead of your meeting costing $162,000, it's actually going to cost $42,000. Let's look at one more what if, one more scenario. Let's say the meeting planner says, well, we've never paid $50,000 for speakers before. We'd like to have a speaker budget of about $5,000. Now remember, the ROI with a $50,000 budget is $77,000. If they reduce their speaker budget, their ROI goes up to $122,000. But how much impact is a $5,000 speaker or two $2,500 speakers going to have on the organization? They're actually losing money by using less experienced speakers. And this is what you want to use the calculator for, is to impress upon the meeting planner the value, the ROI of investing, not spending, and having better speakers come to their conference.